got a couple sets today featuring Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. I want to show you guys both of them side by side so you can see size. Maybe you're looking at one or the other and you want to say, oh yeah, I really like this one versus that one, and then kind of dive into each one and talk about them individually. The Avengers Endgame Final Battle. This one is almost 800 pieces compared to the Infinity Gauntlet, which is just a little under 600. We'll say from a time perspective, it was like 45 minutes to an hour maybe for me to do the gauntlet, maybe closer to 2 hours for the battle sequence here. Even though the part differential isn't that much, there's a lot more technical aspects going on in this and putting all the pieces together. It is a little bit longer of a build, even though it's not that much more in terms of parts. Let's take a look at each one specifically, tell you what I liked and what I didn't about them. So the Infinity Gauntlet, I think this is a really cool set. I know a lot of people have complained about the size. You can kind of see compared to my hand, it is a little bit smaller than my hand. Obviously, someone like Thanos being a Titan, it would be a little bit bigger, but at under 600 pieces, you kind of shouldn't expect it to be that large. One thing that I think is really cool about it though is that all of the fingers are movable, so you can position them however you want. So the way that they display it on the box is just with all of the fingers open, but then obviously you can create it to do the famous snap scene where Thanos snaps his finger. The one thing that is a little tricky about this though is that from a display perspective, if you want to show the whole Infinity Gauntlet with the stand and all that, you can't really see the finger snap from that. You can kind of do it from like a 3/4 angle and maybe get a little bit of it while you still see the stones and everything. But that does pose kind of a challenge. And I think most people just do it upright like this. But again, I think it's really cool that you can pose it however you want and change it up from time to time if you decide you like it one way in one room or you like it a different way in a different room, depending on the angle. You've got that flexibility. I love the shiny pieces. I've seen some people mention that they got scratches on theirs. At almost 500 of these pieces are this gold, and I didn't have a single scratch on any of mine. Just something to keep in mind, Lego will let you swap those out if you do get some that are scratched, so that's another cool thing. I think this is a really great set, especially if you're a fan of Thanos, fan of like the Infinity Gauntlet series or any of the Marvel Cosmic Universe. I think this is kind of like a must-have. For the in-game battle diorama, there's actually a couple of different in-game dioramas for what they call the final battle. So if you like this one and you like the theme of this one, just make sure you're buying the correct version, especially if you're getting it for your kids or something like that. You may not be familiar with the series. Just make sure you're getting this one. So this one is the scene when Thanos battles the female cast of Avengers and Avengers allies. So there are a couple figures who are missing from this battle that were in that scene, which a lot of people have rightly pointed out, but they still have 5 of the characters along with an extra large Thanos, and there's a really tiny little wasp on here. So I have seen a lot of people complain that they wish there was a full-size wasp. I kind of agree. I almost didn't even see this figure in the bag. It's so small. It is cool how it captures the scene coming out of the van and kind of captures that element. There are a couple other little Easter eggs in here that you can find as you open up the diorama. And again, I think this is a really cool idea and a way to display it so that you can show it however you want. Depending on what your shelf situation looks like, you may be better long ways versus taking up the full size. But there you can see the little Captain America shield hidden in there. You've got Thor's hammer in here, little the little mouse, if you remember the scene. And then, I love all the little destructive stickers and stuff that are on here too, to add a little extra detail. I do like that they used the invisible floating Lego pieces that you're starting to see a lot more on some of the superhero ones. So you get that element of flight for Scarlet Witch and for Carol Danvers over here. That's pretty neat. And again, I like the time loop, the Doctor Strange kind of circles that the Valkyrie's coming through. If you like the series, if you like the comics, there are a ton of really cool movie accurate, if you will, elements to this. My one gripe is the Thanos that they put in here doesn't have a gauntlet on, even though obviously in the battle he did have the gauntlet. Even though it had been destroyed from him using the snap, he was still able to use the stones, and very much so in this particular battle. So That's just kind of a little nitpicky thing about us comic nerds. But for most people, they're going to be happy to get a Thanos figure. They're very rare, not in a lot of sets compared to some of these other figures. Overall, a really cool set, a really fun build with a lot of little details. Make sure you set your parts out. There were a few places where I went back and had to redo some things. Definitely check it out. Make sure you get the right in-game set if this is the one you want. The other one is very different than this.